Hi there, and thank you for watching this video on soaringme.com. In this video, we're going to cover the career in human resources topic. We have a special guest, David Monica. David, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Michael.
David has at least 15 years in human resources. And I just wanted to start by asking you, because human resources is sort of an umbrella term. There's lots of different job functions within that department. For somebody considering a career in human resources, what can you tell them about the different paths that they can take?
Really, human resources is, like you said, such a large umbrella to fall into. Whether it's payroll or benefits or compensation, systems, really understanding employees from a business partner's perspective. I mean, it's such a broad term in today's world that it's just really sort of anything that the business needs, I feel like, can sort of sometimes fall underneath human resources.
Now, I think a lot of people get confused by the title HR generalist. You at one time were an HR generalist. What can you explain? What do they do?
For myself, when I was a generalist, I handled compensation for the organization. I backed up benefits and payroll. I was meeting with leaders within the organization to get a better feel for what the organization really needed, or what those individuals were looking for from the organization to help support their employees, to try to recruit and retain the talent that we were looking for. Performance management and development in trying to better the organizational employees in ways that we wanted. So it's such really I think the name makes a lot of sense when you talk about a generalist, and just the fact that it's a very general position that just handles a lot within the organization. And a lot of times it's items that people don't think of that sort of fall underneath that area.
Okay, perfect. So if I were somebody that was just graduating, young, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career, and I was considering human resources, what could you tell me in terms of the profile that the hiring managers are going to look for? In a lot of my videos, I explain to candidates that companies kind of formulate what they think would be the ideal person that they would like to hire: education, experience, personality. So what can you tell somebody in terms of what most human resources organizations or departments would be looking for?
I think you hit on it, right? It's the personality of the individual. For myself, when I'm recruiting to find people for my own team, a lot of times, and I have hired right out of college, I'm looking for high energy. I'm looking for, someone who is involved in wanting or invested in wanting to learn more and take on, whatever project may come their way. Again, because of the fact that human resources covers so many different areas within the organization, someone that, may not have an exact pinpoint level of experience is not a bad thing, right? Just wanting to get involved and understanding what the business is doing and wanting to take on new tasks is a lot of times what I'm looking for, rather than someone saying to me, well, I'm an expert in this, or I've been educated in that, right? Just having that mentality of wanting to take on more and try to do new things, being able to communicate well, being able to listen well. These are all, in my opinion, high quality traits for a young person who's coming out of college looking to get into this field.
Okay, so if I were a recent grad, or maybe I had a couple of years after I graduated from college, would you care what my major was, or what would you, is it really just interviewing me and seeing that I have those traits that you just described?
In a lot of ways, no, I would say it's not important what your major was. I've interviewed individuals and even hired individuals into human resources that majored in pre-med, that majored in, these other areas that people would never expect them to have gotten into this field. And again, part of the reason was because they came to the table with skills that are not necessarily measurable, right? They're just those pieces, those feelings that you get when talking to someone to say they understand what it's going to take to sort of get the job done and can bring, just a level of energy or a level of excitement or a level of willing to take on things. And again, just can communicate well, can listen well, and really can do things that not necessarily are on a piece of paper somewhere.
Okay. You definitely need to be a people person, though, I would think.
It helps. I learned very early in my career that if you can respond with a smile at all times, it usually helps. So that tends to be something that makes it a little bit easier to get through the day.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let's talk about the interview process. We don't want to tackle all questions, but maybe you could tell people what are some of the common mistakes that you see people interviewing for human resources roles make when they are in the interview process?
Yeah, I think there's a few common things that I've seen in the past that may hurt, right? I mean, I think you have to know yourself very well, first and foremost. Understand what you have on your resume, basically. You're going to be asked, what did you do at this position? How have you been challenged in the past? If you're out of college, right, like give me some examples of when you've had to work in a team situation or when you've had to, maybe take on a leadership role. Understanding sort of what the business does or, what you're really interviewing for and where your strengths sort of extend to that position and where your weaknesses may ultimately hurt, but being able to sort of spin the weaknesses and say, I understand that I have a weakness and I understand that this is where I need to learn. And this is how I've sort of taken on the ability to try to work around that weakness, right? And finding different workarounds. So really understanding yourself, especially for young people who don't necessarily have a lot of experience, knowing those important skills and being able to talk to them.
Okay, perfect. So last thing I'll ask you here about a career in human resources, what just general advice would you give somebody about the career, but also about the interview process and being successful in an interview process?
Well, you sort of hit on it earlier with the people person comment, and we hear that a lot, I think, for anybody who's in human resources, right? You've got to be a people person to be in human resources. And it's funny because, a lot of what I do doesn't necessarily involve people on a day-to-day basis because of the areas of human resources that I handle. But it's the understanding that at the end of the day, what you're doing impacts people. So I think it's not so much being a people person as it is to understand that you're impacting people and their lives and things that they hold important. So whether it's doing payroll and understanding that you're dealing with people's money or their benefits and understanding how it, affects them and their family when you're designing benefits, strategizing on how to put it into place, actually administering, right? All these different pieces. If you can sort of take into consideration that at the end of the day, there's someone on the other end of whatever it is that you're doing, again, that sort of keeps you grounded and remembering what really is important within the business, right? And people are not just a number. They're not just, a robot or anything along those lines. They have feelings. They're going to take things personally, especially in what we do from a human resources perspective. So as you progress within your career, it's understanding that things you do are going to be viewed by those employees. And that's how you're going to ultimately be viewed, right? If you are setting up benefits and you're just setting them up and not thinking about how they affect someone, people are going to feel that, right? If you just go about doing payroll and don't actually care whether or not it's, actually accurate, and you make mistakes, again, people will notice. And it's the image of what do you want people to remember and think about when they think about human resources, as opposed to maybe the error itself, right? You're hoping that they're coming out with that positive feeling at the end of the day. And so that for me has really been something that I've carried with me. It's sort of the idea of the I can statement, and constantly trying to say, I can do this for you, I can help you with that, I can do whatever it is, and taking that extra step and maybe taking that extra moment to really try to connect with someone, as opposed to just being a robot that produces, data or spits out responses.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Very insightful. I hope the viewers found this helpful. As always, I would ask you to share the video with your network. I want to thank David for joining us, and please visit soaringme.com for additional resources. Thank you.